Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. With me, as always, is TJ O'Connor. Tonight we have Coach Moriarty, who's coming out of, is it Dublin, Ireland?
Dublin, Ireland, yeah.
Dublin, Ireland, at Legends Gym. I mean, this guy is a legend there himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody knows who he is. He's worked with the best of the best, and he's coming right here to Minnesota to teach 2 seminars in boxing. And I can't be more excited to be there, and I'm so glad you're coming. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great, yeah. Really looking forward to it. I think we arranged it maybe 6 months ago, and the last couple of weeks have been getting more excited. You know, really looking forward to getting over there and working with you all. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm very excited myself. I took the time and scheduled the trip up to Minnesota just to be there as well. I mean, Damien mentioned it. I think very highly of you. I'm very excited to get a chance to meet you in person. Jim has said nothing but great things about you since the day I walked into the gym. He was telling me about working at Legends in Dublin. And I mean, just the aura of being around that gym. Just for the fans that might not know, who haven't had Jim in their ear like me and Damien have for the last 10 years. How about a little background on yourself, just a little bit about the gym and some of the things that you've been able to accomplish?
yeah, no problem. Myself, I've probably about 30 years now experience in martial arts. I started with everything from Taekwondo. I went from there into kickboxing, went from there into boxing, went from there into MMA, done jiu-jitsu, done a little bit of wrestling as well, not on your level over there, but done some wrestling as well. So pretty much, covered all angles.
Can I say something really quick? I haven't even wrestled at our level over here. So I was just the basic high school wrestler, But Jim,
which is probably really high standard. So
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to take it. James Clark, James Clark, our head coach, has known you for quite a while. How did you two formally meet? How did that come to be? Because I know you guys have a good relationship now, but how did that start off?
Yeah, basically, where we now probably about 10 years ago, Jim was in Ireland and he was teaching, and he was staying in a place called Bray, which is maybe about 10 miles from Dublin, and that's where I had my gym at the time. And it was just basically by chance he saw the sign and came in, and we were just chit chatting about different things. And he said, "Would it be okay if you come down and worked out with us that evening?" And he did. And just from there we just kind of hit it off. We kind of had very, very similar interests, and we were kind of working on the same wavelength. And from there on in, I think we've been really good friends. And a couple of years ago, I was meant to go over to you guys, and it didn't work out. And then I think it was last year, Jim was meant to come over to us, and it didn't work out. But then, thankfully, he was here last April, and then, I'm looking forward to using the next 2-3 weeks. So.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That's such the Jim story, because that story is the exact same way that I was able to meet Jim Clark. Stumbled across the gym on accident, sent a message. Hey, I'm young. I don't know what I'm talking about. I gave this whole message on, why he should trust and train in me. And I remember his response back was, "O'Connor, huh? Irish fella, come on in." So you tell him that story. That's Jim in a nutshell. And you mentioned him and Josh were able to make the trip over there leading up to Josh's May fight. I seen some of the work that you guys were doing there, and it was, high level stuff. Is there a lot of guys that are around Josh's size, or were you able just to pick out some of the best in the area? Because I know he was working with top level guys.
Yeah, lucky enough, on a striking level in Ireland, we're pretty high.
I think so, yeah.
Whether it be boxing, whether it be Thai boxing, whether it be kickboxing, anything like that, we have a pretty high standard. And even at that in the ground game and in grappling, we have a pretty high standard as well with BJJ. Wrestling is up and coming. It's been going a long time in Ireland, but we're a small country, so it's difficult trying to be probably trying to be good at everything, to be honest. So, but no, we had a rough idea because I've always been in touch back and forth with Jim, and we kind of had a bit of a rough plan on what we wanted to kind of get out of it. He told me about his last opponent. He was a dangerous striker as far as I remember, and he had a lot of power. I think he won all his fights by knockout or TKO, and we wanted to kind of work at a game plan on what Josh could kind of do to utilize that and be able to use his timing, his footwork, his boxing skill, and then of course his wrestling to be able to nullify him on the ground. And I think from what we saw, it definitely worked.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree. And now with all of that said, all of your background, how old were you when you went into your first? You said you started off in Taekwondo, because that was actually my first start too. So TJ, you're a loser. Me and the coach are cool. You know,
TJ's not training with us when we go over there. Yeah.
No, but how old were you when you took your first Taekwondo class?
I was 12.
12. So all the way from 12, you've just been connected with martial arts the entire time. Like, was there any years off at all?
No, just a couple of injuries or maybe an illness or something like that. But apart from that, it was seven days a week.
Okay, hell yeah. So like all that dedication that you have, is that just is that the Irish blood, the Irish tradition, or is there something that sets you apart that makes you like the coach that you are? Because Jim speaks so highly of you, man. I swear to God, like this, Jim doesn't sugarcoat or kiss anybody's ass, but oh my God, like I swear to God, I cannot wait to meet you and work with you. Like, what can I expect when I'm working with you and at these seminars?
In a nutshell, I like to think that maybe one attribute that I might have is I can read fights pretty well. I can read individuals pretty well. And what I like to try and do is when I'm teaching or when I'm coaching, I try to work on everybody's best attributes and what they bring to a fight. So instead of having one particular game plan where, Thomas might be good at one particular thing and Damien, you might be good at something else, I'll work on what you're good at individually instead of just kind of saying, well, this is how I like a fighter to fight, because it's not going to work for everybody that way. So, I like to think that I can get in pretty quick and I can kind of see how we can kind of work it and what we can do from there. And that's what I'd be hoping with anybody over there in Minnesota when I get the opportunity.
I know why you and Jim are so cool.
Man. Yeah, I was going to say, I wish I could be surprised right now, but just the way you think about these things and articulate them. I mean, this is something that, definitely you have a calling for, I would say would be the very well understatement. But I mean, when you're working with fighters and you see these things, as far as distance, timing, you mentioned working with Josh on his footwork. Is that something that, do you purposely try to work with a fighter based off, their upcoming fights, or do you try to work on a fighter as a whole and develop a product?
A bit of both, to be honest. I like to think that sometimes if you're working too much on what your next opponent's going to do, you're really forgetting about what you're good at. So really, whatever your kind of attributes are, that's my main focus. And then what we can do is we see how we kind of need to tweak it a little bit, or maybe need to refresh it a little bit. And then from there, it's quite easy because we're creatures of habit, all of us, no matter what we do. And especially in the fight game, especially because what can happen is when we get into trouble, we always go back to our go-to. And sometimes your go-to is this thing that comes most natural to you, or the easiest thing. And usually you'll see that with a lot of fighters all the time, whether it's successful for them or not. It's repetition and it's repetitive because it's just in our nature to do that. And if you can kind of read that pretty quickly, well, then it's kind of easy to be able to nullify it and be able to find a game plan to be able to beat it.
Yeah, no,
easy in theory, of course. Yeah, in practicality, it's a bit different. But in theory, if you can make the theory into the practical world, well, then it works straight away.
No, that's a great answer. I mean, developing a fighter, making them better at what they're good at, and then also getting them ready for their opponent, but not losing track of your own abilities. I mean, that's what keeps fighters being great, And Wow. How many MMA fighters have you worked with? And what do you think about the striking in MMA as a whole?
MMA fighters, we worked with a good few. Now Ireland's, only has a population north and south at 6 million. So I don't know what Minnesota has. What's Minnesota population?
It's pretty comparable.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I hear
So,
it's growing daily.
Yeah.
The MMA community out there.
yeah, no, we're very highly ranked in fairness, because there's probably maybe only 50, 60 clubs in Ireland. So it's not a lot, but we can produce some good level guys when we need to, which is great. But sorry, the other part of your question was
what do you think of MMA as a whole? I mean, the striking in MMA as a whole, and how many MMA fighters do you guys work with?
Work with at the minute now. We were based in Bray, which is a different location than where we are now. So we've kind of basically spent the last 2 years rebuilding and working with a different kind of set of guys, and basically trying to build from the youth up as well, because we found beforehand with our fighters that, a lot of the guys were, I wouldn't say old, but they were kind of at a stage where they weren't going to go so far. And what we wanted to do is try and build up from kind of a youth system up and work from the kids, because that's going to be the next step, of course. And I found before that basically, if you rewind maybe 10, 15 years ago, we didn't really have anybody that was a pure MMA fighter. It was someone coming from a different background, someone coming from a boxing background, let's say, or someone coming from a judo background or a BJJ background. So the last maybe 10 years, which has been great, we've kind of had guys that just purely want to train MMA, as opposed to coming from the traditional martial arts scenes. So the plan was then in the next, hopefully to have a bit of a game plan in the next couple of years, obviously to try and build up kind of a youth team, as well as the kind of pedigree fighters that we'd have at the moment as well. Fighters wise, I'm not too sure. I couldn't really put a number on it, to be honest. No, it probably wouldn't be a lot in regards to the grand scheme of things, because the amount of people we have competing in Ireland, but we've done pretty well in the small kind of scale that we have anyway. MMA as a whole it's been great. It's probably part of the earlier questions that we were talking about on how to prepare for a fight. You can clearly see how MMA has gone from, let's say, it was style versus style. Then it kind of went from, if you had a bit of a boxing background but you had good wrestling, it was starting to work. Obviously, then if you had the BJJ knowledge and use your wrestling to be able to nullify the BJJ and the boxing skills, and you'd be able to, box your way in, take them to the mat, and then just finish them, especially like Matt Hughes and people like that, worked very well for them. Yeah. Then you had the kind of next level guy, which is GSP, which, was incorporating more footwork, more kicks. And then obviously, he was textbook. He was brilliant in the way that you could just give him a plan. You could write it down, A, B, and C, and he'll do it straight away. Then you had Barbosa doing spinning kicks, and then you had Wonder Boy doing jumping kicks, and was a Henderson doing a jumping kick off the cage, and you got striking. Then people starting working on body shots, which was never really happened until the last couple of years. Yeah, and then it's just developing all the time. So it's really interesting to see what's going to be next.
Yeah, you mentioned the body shot. I actually had to learn the importance of a body shot the hard way. I took a boxing match against.
Was it?
Yeah, I went against the former champion of the world now, but at the time he was just still an up and comer, and so was I. And man, I wish I would have done some body hardening before I took that fight. Let's just say
that. Sometimes that's the best.
Yeah,
and Damien mentioned finding out through boxing. That was one of the things I really want to touch on. You kind of answered it with your last answer there, but obviously the boxing in Ireland is at such a high level, especially at the amateur level. Have you seen a lot of fighters make the transition from being pure boxers into incorporating MMA training, or do you still see, a lot of guys that are strictly fundamentally sticking to boxing as a whole?
They mainly stick to boxing. It's very rarely you see very much of a crossover. There's still kind of two different paths for some strange reason. I don't know, maybe it's a traditional thing, or maybe it's just maybe a lack of interest, or maybe a lack of knowledge of what goes on the ground they don't really have an interest in, or maybe not sure. I don't know, but no, it's boxing's just it's always been huge in Ireland. For the last, I don't know, maybe 100 years or more, produced champions after champions after champions. So I think it's just in us. You just wake up and just start punching. So
we
to try and get them to start doing other things as well.
TJ and I have mentioned this off camera before, where we talk about like how sports are popular in other countries and stuff like that, how soccer is a European thing, I guess even South American, and it's not too popular in the United States. Wrestling is really popular here, but not too popular too many other places unless you mix it in with like sambo or stuff like that. And does it all just come back down to tradition? Because like no one plays football, no one. We play football here, but no other country. And I feel a little bit disrespectful for even. I feel disrespect. I feel disrespectful because I should have said American football. So like no other country really plays that. And like, but there's so many kids here that aspire to be in the NFL playing American football. Yeah. Now, I
they don't watch soccer either.
Yeah, well, you mean football?
It's football.
Asshole. Yeah, just not disrespect them, all right?
I'm talking.
Or whatever. But yeah, no. So like, we have our traditions here, and I think it's mostly wrestling, and you guys have the tradition of boxing, but do you encourage people to mix it up and try dabbling in MMA and other martial arts? Or are you one of those guys that prefer boxing yourself too?
No, I want to train it all. Especially if you want a complete fighter, you have to be able to mix it up in any sense. Whether it be on the ground, against the cage, against the ropes, whatever it may be. There's no point in just half-hearting, trying to be a fighter if you're not going to be a full fighter. Now, boxing in its own right is a great sport. It's a great art, but it's difficult to try and compare boxing and mixed martial arts. Even though they're very similar, they're at the same time they're worlds apart.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to even start the comparison either, because I try to explain to my friends. My friends will always bring up the question, what's better to have, wrestling or jiu-jitsu? And granted, I started off in wrestling, but both, you dumbass. The combination of all of them is what's key. I think it's been proven. It's been proven time and time again. Anytime you say, "Oh, what's better, Muay Thai or boxing? What's better, jiu-jitsu or wrestling? What's better, wrestling or boxing or Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu or whatever?" It's literally, we've proven it already. The combination of all of them. So anybody who brings up that question, I feel is just an asshole or a dumbass. But incorporate. But incorporating all of them is such a great aspect, and would you be interested in getting down here and even like I know James Clark is a high-level grappler. Would you be interested in doing if he was teaching a seminar on grappling, would you be interested in doing that with him?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Jim done a seminar with us when he was over here and last April.
How'd that go? I forgot. Oh my God, that totally.
Yeah,
man, I totally forgot that.
Oh no, like we train all aspects. We train all aspects of whatever we can do, to be honest. Our program itself, like we have some of our classes, like this evening's class, we were working different angles. First started off with boxing, then we worked it into kickboxing, then we worked it from there into the clinch, worked from the clinch to be able to leg kick to a sweep, to a takedown, so before we knew it there, we've probably worked 5 different angles or 5 different ways, from being able to box to clinch, box to kickbox, box to a takedown, and just like that, in a small class, we've done 4 aspects without even realizing it. So that's the way I train, or the way I teach. I try to work it. Going from, I hope I'm disappointed to have saying that. But,
no, I can't wait for the seminar.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to fucking work.
No, exactly. Just even listening to you speak, the way, like I said, the way you break it down and understanding the difference between boxing range to kickboxing range to the clinch range and how you're working on that with the up and coming fighters, that's great to see. And I, like Damien said, I couldn't be more excited for these upcoming seminars and having the chance to even work with you and speak to you throughout the week as well when you're going to be here. Just to run those by again, that's going to be Saturday, Saturday, November 23rd and Saturday, November 30th. They're going to be at Valhalla Combat Sports. And you're focusing mainly on the striking aspect, correct?
Yeah. I think the 2 seminars a day, and I think the first seminar is just boxing related. And then the afternoon seminar is kickboxing and MMA related. Yeah, I think that's where we have it worked out. Yeah. So
people listening, if you guys are going to be in the area, make sure to get down to Valhalla Combat Sports for the seminar. I mean, you're going to learn from one of the best strikers and from one of the best strikers in the best striking country, let alone.
Thank you. I'll see you at 20 when I get there, okay?
Yeah. Oh my God.
No, that's great. And Coach, you can't thank you more for being on here. The fans might not know this. I mean, this is something we're filming. You're in Dublin right now. I mean, it's going on 3:30 in the morning there, correct?
It's
Did you guys just cut out, or was that me?
I'm sorry, what was that? Kind of cut out for a second.
Yeah. 2:30, so you're not far off. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
man, we really appreciate the time. I swear to God, wow, I feel like an asshole for having you up this late, but I swear to God, I'm so thankful for you doing this interview with us.
No, it's a great opportunity. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moriarty. I look forward to meeting you again. That's Saturday, September 20. I keep saying September. Saturday, November 23rd and November 30th.
Yeah, Back to the Future.
We're going back to the future. Again, thank you. Again, Trash Talk is sponsored by Mile High CBD Buds, Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, and Ink Shrinks Tattoo. And again, Coach Moriarty from Legends MMA, Dublin, Ireland. Be at those seminars if you want to learn how to punch people in the face.
Like and subscribe to Trash Talk with Damien and TJ. And if anybody caught that, TJ finally messed up for once.
What did I say?
Yourself.
September. Twice.
Are you listening? Damn.